Hey guys, welcome back and welcome to part 2 of Exploring Life is Strange. I did say if part 1 got enough interest then I would make part 2, and it seems to have finally hit the 10k mark, so here we are. Now, at the beginning of this episode we wake up as Max, obviously, in the girls' dorm. So, first of all, I guess it would be a good idea to have a quick look around at this opening chapter. To start off with, if we take a look above the dorms, we can find a replica model of Max's room. However, once we get there, it is looking quite untidy, almost as if it's been trashed by someone. And I don't remember seeing it like this before, even during episode 1. Maybe it will appear like this in a future episode. I'm sure some of you out there will already know whether it does or not. But I've genuinely not played all the episodes in this game just yet, on purpose, so it's more of a surprise when I'm making these videos. Now, if we take a quick flight over the top of the dorms, we can see some of the other characters in other rooms, like Victoria and her T-posing friend, and if you continue watching the episode you'll see more T-posing throughout it. Here's Kate sat at a desk, nothing too unusual there, and some of the other characters just hanging around. However, when we fly the camera over the top of the shower room, which we'll be taking a look at shortly, just out the back we can see another Kate. And if you are wondering why this is, then I'm going to show you. It's simply because the Kate that we find in the shower room is a separate Kate to the Kate that sat at Kate's desk in Kate's room. And this Kate teleports to the shower room as we open Max's door. Also, as we open Max's door, it triggers a conversation in the corridor between Victoria and Courtney. But where does Courtney come from?
Courtney, seriously? Do not forget I need those papers before tonight. Like now. Thanks, Sherry.
Yeah, of course, Victoria. I'll get the tests and papers to you this afternoon. I am so on it. Consider it done.
Now, as Courtney walks away, I was interested to know where she goes, and like in episode 1, we can see here that she simply walks so far down the stairs and then disappears. Alright, so we enter the shower room, and after a brief chat with Kate we get into the shower. Now, I'm not going to show the full scene because it will take too long, but let's take a look at some of the main parts of what happens.
What's up, Kate?
School.
You're going to be sorry someday. Yup, I still have goddamn paint all over my face. Good thing my faithful minions took their sweet time bringing me a towel. Kate? You in there?
Yes, I'm here. Come in, Max.
How cool is it that Kate's mouth moves even though we can't see her? Something you may not have noticed is the flock of birds that appear every now and again in the backgrounds, like this one when we exit the dorms. So I decided to take a closer look at the models for the birds, because they do look quite effective from a distance, but when I got over there they turned out to be flying triangles, but I guess they do the job all the same.
David talking to Nathan cannot be a good thing.
Just before Max walks down the steps in time for the bus to arrive and pick her up, I was curious to know where the bus came from, and check this out. If we take a look down the road, we can see the passengers are also waiting for the bus to appear. No, I mean literally appear. And now watch what happens out of shot when the bus arrives and sets off again. Yes, that is the bus driver you've just seen appear. The bus journey chapter into town was one of my favourite chapters to film in this game so far, and it's done very cleverly by the developers. Unlike other games in Slipping Out episodes we've taken a look at that involve moving vehicles, this one is created slightly differently. Let's take a look. So as you can see, and what may surprise you, is the bus doesn't move too much. It's the scenery of the town in the background that does all the moving. Then when we get to the corners where the camera changes and we can see the exterior of the bus, it teleports to where it needs to be. And once again the town is on the move. Now it's the opposite side of the road this time because the camera is always facing that way, so it's only that side that needs to move to give us the effect that the bus is moving forward. Now you may have spotted in the distance that the passengers at this point continue on with their journey without the bus. Here it is from a better view close up. In the bottom right of the screen you can see the reason for this. It's because at this point we can only see Max and the left section of the town out of the window. We finally arrive at the diner, so of course now would be a good time to take a look around Arcadia Bay, and there are a few different directions to go and things to see, so I will try and give you a little tour and show you the best I can. But before we do go off and have a look, I just wanted to fly over to the lighthouse, which we took a closer look at back in episode 1, and to my surprise in this chapter the lighthouse is a 3D model, which I wasn't expecting, being it's so far away and most of the time when it's this distance it's just a 2D texture. We can also find over this way the base map for the town that we saw in part 1. Now let's go and have this quick tour of Arcadia Bay. One of the first things that I noticed when I was exploring around the town is how the shops are pretty much all the same. They all sell the same products and they all have the same basic layout. Not that we ever get to go shopping in this episode of the game, so I guess it doesn't matter too much. Towards the top and the bottom ends of the town, we can see how just out of normal camera shot the map disappears around the corner. There is one other thing I wanted to show you before we enter the diner, and it's the interior of the minivan parked in the car park. Now I'm not sure if we ever see inside of here during later episodes, but you certainly don't see it in this one, so it's strange that it does have things in here, like a mattress and chairs. It also has what appears to be a sticker or a sign on the inside of this window. Now strangely it can't be seen from the outside, so just why it's here I'm not so sure. On entering the diner, I was interested in taking a look to see what was inside the kitchen that we don't really get to see too much of. Pretty standard kitchen looking stuff, except for what's this? The food is kept on the floor. Not the most hygienic way to serve food, but what I found interesting about this is depending on what your choice of food was in the earlier dialogue, changes which food disappears from the plate, as at the moment both choices are mixed together.
Order ready.
No beer?
What kind of dive is this?
Incoming!
If, like me, in the scrapyard scene you wondered where the train came from, because I often do wonder about these things when I'm playing games, which is why I make these videos, just in case you guys do too. Anyway, as you can see, it comes from just beyond the trees in the background, and I will show you a more in-depth look of how this happens in the next scene. Now you're probably thinking, more in-depth look? What the heck are you talking about, Slippy? How does it get more in-depth than that? But come and take a look, because whilst Chloe is stuck on the tracks, I took this time as a good opportunity to see exactly where the train comes from. And check it out. In this scene, it's actually hidden just beyond these hills, around the corner from where we can normally see. And it's all bunched together at first, and then it spreads out as it sets off. How cool is this? It's certainly something I wouldn't have thought would happen if I hadn't seen it. Alright, so once we get back to school, we hear Mr. Jefferson and Kate having a talk to each other, and I do kind of feel sorry for Kate. She's obviously in a bad place with the troubles that are going on around her. So at this point she starts to walk away, and I was curious to see where she goes. Now when I was filming this episode, I was filming sections at a time, and I didn't know what was going to happen next. But now I know what happens next, it seems kind of strange for her to walk in this direction. For you viewers who have played this episode, you'll know why. But for those who haven't, just a quick word of warning, you will find out soon enough, and I suggest if you do want to play the episode at some point without spoilers, turn off in just a moment, because the ending to the episode will be coming soon. But before we get to that, something I missed during episode 1 was to take a look in Mr. Jefferson's closet, hidden at the back of his classroom. I'm still not sure whether this room makes an appearance later in the game. It's very dark in here too, as you'd expect, but luckily we can sort the lighting out and we're able to see clearly. And surprisingly, there are objects in here, even though we can't access this room yet.
Although we don't technically see in my...
Yo! Some crazy is going down in the girls' dorm!
Zachary,
Check it!
do not come into my class like that ever again. Listen, everybody remain seated. Dismissed.
So here it is guys, the part I mentioned earlier, and what I couldn't understand is why Kate walks off in the opposite direction to the girls' dorms, because this is where we find her when she jumps from the rooftop. Luckily we have the power to turn back time and the opportunity to not let this happen. So let's just take a closer look at this scene, and the good news is, as you can see from this camera shot, time stops just before Kate hits the floor. The other good news, especially for me, is if you do mess up the dialogue and Kate does jump, she will disappear after dropping off the rooftop, which made editing this video a whole lot easier. Now take a quick look at this picture and see if you can spot a ghostly presence as Kate is falling. It's a spooky, ghostly T-pose Max.
Blue, have you seen the video? Whatever. Kate was loaded and
You're a
playing the
liar.
field.
You told Kate you took her to the emergency room.
I said I was going to take her to the ER. She sobered up eventually.
Something happened to her and you know it.
Coming towards the end of the episode now, if you saw part 1, you may remember me showing you the sun in the sky and how it's just like a ball of light that hovers within the skybox and just above the sea. So here it is again, but this time I'll show you the eclipse that happens at the end of this episode a little closer up.
I would know. I would.
That is it for this one, guys. As always, I seriously hope you've enjoyed the episode. I'll be back very soon with another. Of course, part 3 of Life is Strange is going to be one that's coming up soon, along with other games too, including a Halloween special later in October. So I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much for the support, but for now, and as always, take care, guys.